my gorgeous pickles, my lovely darlings. Over the weekend, and actually from the end of last week, I had quite a few emails from people asking me about OCD. And it's a subject I know a lot about because I went through a phase of having that myself when I was about 14, and it was absolutely horrendous. And also, I've had a couple of members of my own family go through it. But just to reassure you, before I begin to show you a few little massage techniques to do, you can do them on yourselves, you could do them between family and friends. If you're a therapist, you can implement them into your own work once we're allowed to start again. Come on, get on with it, Boris. But today I'm showing you massage techniques sitting down, just very casually, just on bean bags. When I go off into schools and things, I very often throw my bean bags into the car and off I go, like a mad woman, because I just think let's all be relaxed about it. You know, you can do what I'm going to show you on a massage couch, you could do it on a massage chair. But even when I work with adults, I give them so many different options of where they'd like to have it: inside, outside, on bean bags, on chairs, whatever they want. Because if you've got someone's trust, particularly when you're working with OCD, if you, or autism as well, think, you know, it's so important to put whoever you're working with, not on, with, in charge. Because if they're in control, they're going to relax into it more, and that's really, really key. I know I always say it, and I probably drive you mad, but it's all about not just working with someone, but meeting them where they are at and not wheeling them to where you want them to be and just doing stuff to them. I like them to know why it works. I want to invite them. Even before working with Ollie, lovely, 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 lovely Ollie, my second son, look at him. Oh my God, I can never get over his deliciousness. But after 22 years, I've lost my thread now because I got so overwhelmed by his gorgeousness. Yes, that was it. Even though he's my son and I've massaged him 20 billion times, at least, I've still asked him before we began today, is it all right to massage you, Ollie? And is it all right to massage you in these certain places? And he's my son. So it's always that confirmation to me that my work is a service, really. And I don't mean a service as in serving people, listening from the heart, meeting them where they are and working absolutely with them to ease the issues and challenges and maximise that delicious, delicious potential which is inside all of us. Oh my God, so much potential. But the first thing I want to say to you about OCD is that people often associate it with just, you know, endless hand washing or needing to wash everything, but it's about so much more than that. It can actually become so debilitating and so crippling. It can interfere with and even start to really impede your life. And it could be anything from needing everything lined up perfectly straight. It could be looking in a mirror and having the right thought, and then if you don't have the right thought, you've got to go back and do it 4 more times, or having whole routines just to come down the stairs or to get dressed in the morning. It really is a huge area, and like autism, you know, it's a big spectrum. We've all got funny little habits probably, we're all somewhere there. I'm probably on about a 4 or 5, but only with my work, not my personal life. With my work, I'm quite OCD because underneath all the madness, it's highly organised, you know, it's all, you know, I love it because I want to give my best to people. But sometimes it can be people get OCD because they're having a really hard time processing something, and it might spike and then ebb away again. Some people say you never quite get rid of it. And I must admit, every so often I'll get a little flare up if I'm really overwhelmed by things and possibly I want to feel I'm in control somehow. I'll get a little bit, silly little things. You know, like I've got to check I've turned the cooker off when I'm halfway down the road, or check I've shut the front door 10 times. Silly, silly things. But for other people, it can actually stop them missing buses. It can stop them going into school, because OCD is actually, how can I put it? It's actually an intense manifestation of anxiety. So it's very, very, very real. And I hate this term mental illness. It's not that. You're having a mental challenge at that time, and it could be because of external things you're going through, or it could just be because that's the way your body's made up. People with autism, ADHD, other different abilities, they are actually 2 to 6 times more likely, particularly if they're not being supported through school or in their lives, or understood is a more relevant word, more pertinent word. They are 2 to 6 times more likely to pick up an additional mental health challenge. So, and very often Asperger's, autism and OCD will go hand in hand. Same with ADHD. I meet a lot of kids, a lot of young adults, where that very often will filter in as they hit kind of teenage years. But what I want you all to know, and I had this on very, very good authority, because I had to take my lovely Ollie here, and Ollie is incredibly amazing and courageous because he does allow me to share parts of his story. And when my lovely boy here had his English removed when he went to a certain college, which I've never named, and I never intend to name it because it's a nationwide problem, an international problem. It's not a local issue where I want to be spiteful, because now my great big boy is just about to finish his masters. Oh my God, I could burst. So all ended well. And it went to show those people who removed his English that actually they almost removed his life. And during that time when he was so broken, he actually developed the most debilitating OCD. It was absolutely horrific. And actually, thanks to you, Ollie, that was when I began my massage, wasn't it? And Ollie was my great big guinea pig, my giant guinea pig, because even at 13, he was 6'2". And, you know, and it was with that work, it kind of blew open the door to both our worlds in different ways. So never despair. But at that time, I'll get to the point in a minute, the big thing I want to tell you, which is really good and is true. We went to see an educational psychologist, and this wonderful, wonderful lady, the first thing she said to me and Ollie was, I have never yet met anyone with OCD who isn't really, really kind. Because at the bottom of all that anxiety is a desire to make things perfect, either for yourself, but usually for other people. And it's that drive towards perfectionism. And if you didn't care and you weren't kind, you wouldn't be so susceptible to it. So she said to me, OCD people with OCD rather, OCD people, are very, very kind. So give yourselves a break. And actually, if you have a little bit of OCD every now and again, because that helps you cope with something that you're not coping that well with, does it really matter? It's when it gets to those debilitating levels that we want to try and rein it in a little bit. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to show you a few little massage tips and explain to you why it works, that you can do on yourself or for someone else on a friends and family basis who is having OCD, or extreme anxiety. So the first thing is, when you're up there, which is where you are when you've got OCD, it goes from being in your body and jigging along and feeling you can cope and function to almost feeling out of your body or inside an extremely busy head. And it's you can even get thoughts and not voices exactly, but you feel driven to do these routines, to do these certain things. So what we want to do at that point is start to bring that energy down. Let the person feel that they are held, that you've got them. And the arms and the shoulders are where we carry our load and hold on to things. But when we work downwards on them, as I've shown you in previous videos, it actually brings that energy down, and it brings the person, who obviously is in complete fight or flight by this stage, for some very weird reason it's called the sympathetic system. It doesn't sound very sympathetic to me, but that's what it's called. So you're bringing them down from that sympathetic fight or flight and down into the parasympathetic system, which is rest, relax. The state we should be in, you know, most of the time. You can also do, as I showed you before on previous videos, the thumb rolls and the finger pushes on the shoulders. So roll the flesh over. I always imagine beautiful soft waves breaking on the shore. And if somebody has very little shoulders, because it's a little child, even if you're getting mostly a handful of their clothes, but you're feeling the skin move, you're still doing exactly the right thing. And this will really ground them. And where you begin on massaging someone's shoulders is just where the vagus nerve runs down, which pushes up the dopamine and the serotonin. So dopamine, motivation and pleasure, productivity, and serotonin, happiness, confidence, the feelings of being able to cope and function. 90% of that's in the gut, as I've said to you before. So you're actually, when you're working on the shoulders, you're pushing that up because it's come up from the gut. So, and you can also do this one, which is like lifting, helping someone off with their coat, being kind, being polite. And this one, I don't know why, it gives me goose pimples all down my back and in my hair. It feels so like somebody's taking such a load off you, like you are carrying 20 big heavy bags of potatoes in each arm, and somebody just lifts them away from you, and you just want to give them a massive kiss for that. That's what this one makes you feel like. So this is all about grounding and bringing the energy down and getting the happy hormones and coping chemicals up. On that note, you can also do the one like this, up the back. This is another way to get the serotonin and the dopamine, the neurotransmitters that really push this all up the back. And you're flooding it either side. You're not on the spine, you're either side of it. So you're pushing this up the spinal fluid, up the vagus nerve, and flooding up into the brain. And you can also do my champagne one, you know, that lovely one that goes like this, like the candy canes with the pads of your fingers. And it's just with the pads of your fingers, not your fingernails. And that is also absolutely beautiful for flooding the brain and the body with the happy hormones and coping chemicals. The other thing you can do is go up the neck, unless somebody has cancer or is recovering from cancer because of lymph. So you just literally, so say, I mean, Ollie's quite tall, but I can wriggle myself around because I'm like a little circus monkey. You should see some of the places I go and work in where people will not come out of a tight corner, and I really have to earn their trust, you know. So I've learned to be very agile, and you're going up the neck like this. The skin sandwiches, remember? So you support the forehead, and you're always going up into where the vagus nerve begins, there. Either side of that hollow bit called the medulla oblongata, which is such a mad name, isn't it? It sounds like you're going to visit some kind of, I don't know, Indian royalty. I really, really like those words, medulla oblongata. They're good. Anyway, so there you go, that's up the neck. Stop giggling. See, he hasn't got OCD at all, he's happy and giggling. It's worked. And then the other things you can do is work along the still points. So Ollie, if you turn your beautiful spherical furry globe, look at it, turn it to the side. When I lift up his hair, it's okay, barbers are coming out of lockdown now. Not therapists though, I just thought I'd mention that one again. And all along here from, when you push your hands up your neck and you hit that first bony ridge, just underneath it, that's where you want to go. So the bony ridge that joins the bottom of your head to the top of your neck is the occipital ridge. And you just want to go along there because either side there is where the vagus nerve begins. And you want to work not inside that medulla oblongata because that's full of cerebral spinal fluid. You're using middle finger pressure and you're going along what's called the still points. And the still points do exactly what it says on the tin. They bring your body to stillness. They lower heart rate and blood pressure, or stabilise it. So obviously don't do this on anyone with low blood pressure. And it's absolutely beautiful because as you rotate, you're slightly lifting the neck as well. Now, if you've got somebody who is so anxious, and I've had this in the past, such severe OCD, that actually when I went near their back, it felt like they had chronic sunburn. There was no way on this earth they were going to let me touch their back. But remember, being part Italian and being a mum, I always find a way. So this particular young man who I'm thinking about, I would work on his face, and he absolutely loved it. But what he didn't realise, well, he did in the end, because I told him, I always involve people in their own healing and tell them why I'm working where I work. But he was really surprised to learn the reason he loved it so much is because when you work on the face, you're working on the gut. And the gut begins at the mouth anyway. So you're directly working on the gut there. And then you've got all the beginnings and endings of the meridians down to the gut on the face. And around the eyes, anything around the eyes relates to the stomach, as I've shared with you before. And the stomach is an integral part of the gut because that holds on to dread and fear, anxiety, butterflies in your tummy, you know, that anxious feelings, all those things that can spike OCD. So any work on the face, around the eyes, around the mouth, you are working on the gut. As I always say, it's magic, but it's science. Now, what I normally, Ollie's my son, so he could just lean back in my lap. But if I when I'm working with children, I like to take precautions, and I have to slide right back at this point. Have you still got me in the video, Charles? Oh, good. So, Ollie, if you lean back, you might need to extend your massive skis out, right? So this is what I would do, because obviously you have to be a little bit mindful, and you have to protect yourself and protect them. So it's all through clothes when you're working with children. Not that Ollie's a child, but he is today, and he's my child. So these are beautiful, up the jaw like this. And it's bliss to lean back on someone and have this done. You could do all of this on a bed as well, or on the floor, on a blanket in the garden. You can just lie down on the grass and do it. It does not need to be expensive. You could also use some lovely soothing oils. Rosewood and chamomile together are lovely for OCD, because it's a cuddle in a bottle and it's very, very calming. You can also do these little jaw squeezes between the pad of your thumb there and a little squashy bit in the middle of your finger. Ah, look at your lovely beard. I can't believe I've got children with beards now. Obviously not my daughter. Stop laughing, you two. They're so badly behaved. I'm actually being really well behaved today. And then anything around the eyes. So middle finger pressure. And if you need to have a little look round, that's fine, because it's better you lean round and check than stab them in the eye. That will come as a very unpleasant shock if you do that. And I always pull out like this. I never break contact. Elliot always laughs at me for saying that, but I never break contact because I think it just feels, it's like you're having everything drained away. So right now I'm working on Ollie's tummy. And all the and I'm going round to the temples, capital city of happy hormones and coping chemicals. I've said it so many times. You can also go under the eyes or under the cheekbones, because everybody's cheekbones fall in different places. So this is really gorgeous. And I often think when I'm working on faces, you know, what's getting under your skin? What's getting up your nose? What are you biting your tongue about? Just flows to mind sometimes. And then, look, you could do this one too. Now, this is very lovely. It's very soporific, this one. So when you gently draw your fingers over the forehead, you're actually gently stimulating the higher brain functions. So clear thinking, good judgment, planning ahead. All of these things help ease OCD. Look at my boy. He's all blissed out. Ah, look at you. And that's a little bit on OCD. You can also use colour therapy. You can use sound. You can use meditation. And perhaps I'll make a little video about those later in the week to help. just in case you have a child or someone in your family or a friend who really isn't keen on touch. So we'll try and get around it that way, and I'll try and help you with that as well. Anyway, that's it from me and Ollie and my lovely cameraman Charles. I was really well behaved on that one.